a big concern for many people right now. And some of our own clients have gotten laid off as well. And it's worth it to say that not everyone's situation is the same. Some people have a year or a couple of years to look for a new job, while others need to look for one immediately. So we understand that everyone's situation is different, but we thought we'd hop on here and, in the spirit of altWork, offer you an alternative approach to thinking about this. Zach, if you want to add anything here?
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. We want to show you what it takes to make a distinct career. How can you super boost your career? What can you do to really catalyze it? You know, this industry is filled with lots of tips and tricks and lots of gimmicks about what to do. But we want to bring you some fundamental skills that you can use to boost your career.
Okay, well, let's say I'm presenting someone that just lost their job and doesn't have a lot of time to find a new one. What career? I just lost my job. I don't have a career.
Well, your career is more than your job.
Yeah, but what's on my mind is that I gotta pay the rent, I gotta feed my children, and I need to get another job.
So you want a new job? Okay. And you also want to ensure that in the next round of riffing, that's like firing, but nicer firing, you don't want to be the one that gets gets picked to stay. You want to be the one that gets picked to stay, no? So it would be good to learn some skills that would give you a distinction in your career.
Okay, but I don't think I got laid off because of my lack of skills. It was probably just because of the position I had that was not important enough, or there were too many people doing it.
Possibly.
Do you beg to differ?
No, I mean, I don't know what happened in your job, or in this case, you're representing a friend. I have no idea what happened there. How do I know? All I know is that everything depends on your relationships and your ability to move dynamically. This word, for example, been going around at tech companies, at Meta, at Microsoft for a while, other companies, that this is going to happen. So what alliances you had cultivated, what moods that you were operating in, how your teams and your managers saw that you are not the one to stay. If you just 100% make it their responsibility, then you're naturally giving up any kind of power to do something about it. Now, I am not saying that it's not terrible, that they didn't do a terrible thing and that you should have captured it or it's your fault. I can't control them. I'm not in conversations with them, but I am in conversations with you. So if you own whatever tiniest part that you may have contributed or you may not have contributed, but if you own it anyways, not as a fault, but as a place to stand, to take responsibility, to counter this indignity that you're countering, that you're confronting. So counter it with all that you got, so that you emerge from this like Phoenix rising from the ashes. Do you want that? Or you don't want that? Or you just want to complain that this happened? Because this happened.
Yeah.
And I can control that and you can't control that. But you can counter it by challenging yourself that what you might be missing. At that point in time, if you think that I'm not missing anything at all and the world is just unjust, well, then we start there. We start with that mood. We start with that mood that has led the world to turn against you. You don't want this disaster, this mood. This is a disaster. If we can, if this firing, if we can consider it a disaster in your career, the disaster of a mood that the world is against me led you to a disaster in this career. You don't want this disaster to define the rest of your life, do you? You don't. And If you have not had a disaster in your career, some of you watching us might say, listen, I haven't been fired, I'm safe. I haven't had this happen. So if you haven't had a disaster in your career, then you want to be prepared with all kinds of skills that are not really taught in our normal schools and in our junior roles. Sometimes the senior roles, they do learn these skills, and sometimes through a lot of mistakes and a lot of failures, but not necessarily all the time. People miss it. Sometimes families cultivate these skills, but not necessarily all the time. So, for example, learning to be a new beginner is a damn important skill. Learning to say, okay, what I know before, it's no longer relevant. What I know before, I need to learn again. I need to become a new beginner. Maybe there is something else that I need to learn. This skill, it's not common. It's I'm reminded of a story. You must have heard of the old story of what is that? Hem and Haw and Snuffy and Scurry, from the book called it's an old book, Who Moved My Cheese? I don't remember the name of the author, but if you go look at that book, there are 4 mice in that book called Hem and Haw and Snuffy and Scurry. So they live in this cheese station, and there is cheese everywhere. And one day they wake up and find out all the cheese was gone. And Snuffy and Scurry, they put their tennis shoes on in this book. They start running around, and they remember that once upon a time, how they found this cheese station by running around, by looking around. And so they run all day to look for new cheese. Hem and Haw, they just sit there and they whine like,
and then him and Haw.
When they hem and haw. Oh man, you know, where's my cheese? We like this cheese. It used to be such a great cheese. We have, the author talks about, like, we had pictures of the cheese on our wall. We celebrated cheese. We identify with cheese. So they just sit there and they just hem and haw. The point of the book is that it's time for you to consider what new sensibilities that you might need for the world that is coming, for the world that is here. And if you have been let go from your job, then it doesn't mean that the breakdowns have gone away. Maybe there are forces moving, like economy, that is beyond you. There are breakdowns that are there. But each time when there's a breakdown occur, there is a new possibility that shows up. And in the style of Snuffy and Scurry, we invite you to put your running shoes back on, put your trekking shoes back on, and get started again.
That's a very interesting story, and I haven't really heard of it, so it's interesting. But like you said, there is a kind of a possibility in every breakdown. But like, for example, Scruffy and Scurry, they get on it right away. Him and Haw get stuck, right? So why do some people get stuck?
It's a good question. I think the main challenge is about interpretation, about our interpretation of what we consider to be our work. And then from there, all kinds of standard measures come out about how to work, how to look for work, what is work, what to do if you lose your job, and so on and so forth. If you search Google, or sorry, if you prompt ChatGPT, you're going to get a very good list of pretty standard answers. Answers like edit and update your resume. And you know what? Why don't we just do it right now? Let's go to ChatGPT and ask this question. Like, what to do? What is the question? Let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT this question and see what comes up.
Okay.
What should I do? What is the question?
What should I do if I just got laid off?
What should I do? Excuse me. What should I do if I just got laid off? Or at the risk of being laid off. Okay, let's see.
Stay calm.
Yeah, look at that. Stay calm, assess your finances, look for new opportunities, take advantage of resources, and stay positive. Stay calm and stay positive, right? So this is the disaster about the standard advice. According to ChatGPT, you should take a deep breath and stay calm, assess your finances, look for unemployment benefits, update your resume and other profiles, network with contacts, and consider new career options. Now, all of this is fine, but it's not really helpful because they're all advices about moves that you can make. And they're not bad advices. They're right advices. But if you have a certain interpretation about what is work, why you're working, how you're working, how you've been working in the past, what is the purpose of your work that you consider, then no matter how much of this advices you take on, you are together with the recession. It is no secret that government is pulling a lot of money out of the economy, raising the interest rates, so on and so forth. Therefore, creating almost a recession to counter inflation. We don't want the price of money to drop too much, and the banks are worried about, the big banks are worried about this, so they increase the interest rates so some money can come back from the economy. And there is not a damn thing that you can do about it immediately as an individual. So none of this advice will really help you till you see what way of being that has been invisible to you about work, and what new way of being that we can prompt you to take on. And that's our purpose today.
Okay.
And then we can review the way of being that has been about work is slave labor, work is about paying my bills, work is for expressing my great potential. All these ideas about work, they lead to certain heroism. That leads to certain nihilism. That leads to certain resignation and all of that. So what we invite you to do is to have a whole new interpretation about what is work.
I like that invitation. So what new interpretation of work are you talking about?
What new interpretation of work? Well, let's first take a closer look at what is our common interpretation of work, right?
Okay.
Mostly we consider work to be slave labor that we got to do to pay the bills. This heroic interpretation, it traps you into indentured servitude and waste your potential. And then even when we try to escape that interpretation about work, we decide that I'm just going to do what I am passionate about. So work becomes more like an artistic expression. We think that's how we're going to escape this world. I think both approaches are traps. The first one is obvious, right? You're indentured servitude. You're just working to make money, and you piss away half of your life. You work from 9 to 5 even, or these days everyone is working around the clock. You piss away all that time and you get paid for it. But that's a trap that keeps you in there. The second one, where you're working to express yourself, following your passions and likes and dislikes, it could be fun for a little while, and then it gets boring. You end up kind of becoming your own customer. I believe that both of these approaches are bankrupt. A better approach to work would start by first seeing that working is always about caring. What do I mean by that? Let's investigate a little more. A new approach to work, Victoria, that we are proposing is about taking care of concerns for some people, some breakdowns, some problems that you have committed to take on. What we have been failing to see that work has always been about taking care of some concerns. And it is in our encounter with concerns and care for others, we have the possibility to do some important work that makes a difference. Fernando Flores says, we Americans, we live our lives in the interpretation that work is bonded labor. He says work is actually three things. First, work is making and fulfilling commitments. Second, he says work is dealing with breakdowns that are inevitable, that are going to happen anyways. And third, work is keeping an open eye for new possibilities. All of this, basically, your capacity for making commitments, for making offers, making requests, accepting other people's requests for you to do something, all of that phenomena, it rests on your care and concern.
That's very interesting, but I'm thinking, how does this interpretation of work help someone who just lost their job? Like, let's say I'm a software engineer and I just lost my job at Meta. How can this interpretation of work help me in this scenario?
Yeah, very good. Let's take a look. What did we say earlier? The work is first thing. Work is making commitments, which can happen for you unless somebody is requesting you to do some work and accepting those requests. And in the mood in which you accept those requests, sometimes we get very trapped in like, oh, this is not the kind of work that I do. This is below me. So accepting requests that lead to commitments. And if no one is requesting you to do the work, then commitment comes into existence by making offers. You can offer a new commitment if you are very carefully listening to current breakdowns of those that you want to serve and work with. So what new offers you can make now that you never thought about making before? What new breakdowns that are becoming obvious to you? What new needs that are becoming obvious to you? Think of like 5 offers you can make. Let me pause here. Why don't you put yourself in that shoe? Now you have the job, and thankfully I have the job and you have the job here. But imagine being a software engineer. What 5 offers you can make? Take a moment and think about this.
I am not sure.
Here you might say, I cannot figure out what offers to make. Well, that's because you haven't been listening to the breakdowns. You're only thinking about your skills, my capacity, my ability, my titles, my certification, my degree, my experience, my LinkedIn profile, all of that. An offer is always made, can only be made when there is a breakdown, a dissatisfaction of some kind. So you're just thinking about making the offers about same comfortable distinctions that you have used all the time, but they won't help you. So I ask you, as a software engineer, you are a product manager yourself, Victoria, so you can think from the role of a product manager as a software engineer. What new dissatisfactions and breakdowns are now showing up for businesses that were never available before? Let's think together. Let's think together with some breakdowns that are now showing up for businesses.
I'm not sure if this is a great idea, but first idea I'm thinking is if a company is not already online, like offering like virtual products, they should hop into that pretty quickly.
Very good.
So if that's a breakdown that they're facing.
That's a breakdown that maybe some business doesn't have online business, and now they're beginning to lose because everything is moving online.
Yeah, whether it's a program or anything else.
Sometime when new technological emergence happen, the new technological emergence creates new breakdowns. Like we talked about this before. Imagine something like 15 years ago or whenever iPhone came out, when first time it came out, no teenager had the breakdown that I don't have an iPhone. But after iPhone came out, now there's a new breakdown that I don't have an iPhone.
Or I don't have a case for my iPhone.
You don't have a case for your iPhone. Yeah,
Right?
we're right. Till you can only have the breakdown
Yeah.
that I don't have a case for my iPhone if you have the iPhone. If you don't have the iPhone, you won't have that breakdown, right? So new technological emergence, it can give rise to new perceived needs. So what new technology that's emerging right now that every business should be paying attention to, where
ChatGPT.
engineers, ChatGPT, yeah.
Yeah.
ChatGPT or AI emergence. ChatGPT
Yeah.
is one of the models. There are
Yeah.
several models, and I think that what we are seeing right now is the beginning of the beginning of the era of AI. So big breakdown that every business should have. Some may be thinking, oh, it's not a breakdown for us. We don't really care about it. Businesses that were happy with the Alta Vista or web, or what was the other, some Alta Vista or other web crawlers and other search engines before Google, and said, well, Google doesn't really matter to us because we got our game all set up.
Yeah.
They became history. They didn't survive.
Yeah.
So the same way businesses, the big breakdown that either businesses are having or they should be having, that engineers and product managers that are getting laid off, they can think about it. I'm not saying that's what you should do. There's all kinds of breakdowns, the stability, the security, the ongoing lack of security in the online systems, and the loss of value because of that. The weather interruptions and the whole climate change is opening up new possibilities to take care of new concerns that never existed before.
So what you're saying to someone who like got laid off, right? Like a senior software engineer who just got laid off, is for them to see what breakdowns in their domain, what like concerns in their domain, what possibilities exist in those breakdowns. And so then when they go to do interviews, for example, when they're interviewing, to focus on their caring concern of that breakdown during the interview?
Well, if you are going to do interview, that means that you've already been invited to do some kind of a job or being assessed to do some kind of a job. So in this particular scenario, you need deep relationship with what is going on in the lives of your employers and your potential new customers. I like the word customers better because it keeps us authentic and honest. Employer sometimes becomes like this, modern slave master that I'm going to surrender my body to from 9 to 5 or sometimes. So having the distinction of customer who has some breakdowns that you've been brought in for an interview, investigate those breakdowns and then show up as an offer to take care of those concerns. Maybe they're already thinking about implementing AI, or in the case of an engineer, we're talking about tech jobs, but the approach applies across the board. But in certain cases, if you haven't been invited for interview, then you can just make offers to those businesses that are not yet thinking about opening job, because by the time some employer has a job opening, that means that they have a very good grip over their breakdown and they know at least what to do as a next step. That's not always the case.
Yeah, you're right. So if I just got laid off somewhere and I have a lot of experience, for example, in AI or something, I could go to like maybe a small startup or company and say, hey, I've noticed what you guys are doing. It sounds very interesting. Have you considered this? Because this might actually take you out of business. If you don't start implementing this now, your competition is going to outgrow you or something. I can help you with that. I have a background in this. I have an idea of how you guys can implement this and use this to create leads or something. Consider hiring me. That would be a pretty powerful move because you have like their breakdown in your grip, right? So
that's right. Right. Very good. Now go make these offers, but not only to pay your bills, but out of your concern and care, because your offer, number one, right away, it may not be accepted. If you're operating out of like, hey, I just got to make an offer to pay my bills, or I got to demonstrate or represent, express my skills very clearly, and your offer is not accepted, you're suddenly disappointed, you're frustrated, you're resigned. You don't want investigate that. But if you get into conversations and you listen, you may change your offer. You may have to change your offer, but your care and concern for the breakdown is right there in your grip. You may start as an advisor, as a contractor. You may end up getting invited to be hired as a full-time guy, a full-time girl, but when normal things are not working, you have to go and do the things you have never done before. The old way of looking for jobs, preparing a nice little resume that fits into nice little categories. If those categories are not working, you have to learn the skills for making offers. You have to make an offer that you have never made before, and you've never seen yourself as an offer. You are thinking that, well, I'm a software design engineer in testing, in QA, in this particular ops, DevOps environment. So you have narrowed yourself sometimes too much according to some specialized skill that you got. So you have to make an offer you've never made before. Who you are as an offer is to help people with their concerns and bring them to new worlds. You may have to change your labels a little bit. You may have to learn maybe a new tool or new skill, or talk to someone, a new connection that you wouldn't talk to otherwise, or maybe work for a business that's not high-tech business, that's maybe a low-tech business, and they would treat you like a king or a queen in their business if you can get in and make an offer and bring them to a new world. And then make a commitment and deliver. That's the second thing you do. Make an offer. Flores says, what is work is 3 things: making and fulfilling commitments, dealing with breakdowns, and keeping an open eye for new possibilities. So go make an offer, make a commitment, negotiate, okay to make offers again and again till they make sense, and then deliver. And if you fail during delivery, deal with that breakdown. If there's a dissatisfaction in that delivery, deal with that breakdown. Don't just withdraw. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough, or they are terrible, or they want too much. Your ultimate job is to satisfy your customer or employer. So if a breakdown shows up, deal with that breakdown and keep an open eye for new possibilities. Keep inviting your customers to see a new future that you can help bring about. Victoria, in our own business, we go to companies and we promise them, work with us, and in 1 month, something fundamental will shift about your people, about your personal careers and your team performance. And if you're working as a company, and if something doesn't shift, if we cannot shift within a month, that we don't let it go. We stay with them till the shift happens. And how many times we have had to make offers, or how many times we have to change our offer and deal with breakdowns in the process of delivering of what we have committed. So that's what we are inviting people to go out and begin to. And if you don't know what offers to make requests for listening interviews. Just go out and say, hey, I just want to find out what you're dealing with, confronting with, where the challenges are. I just want to listen and begin to pay attention. And in some moment, you will see something you could do, some offer you can make to help bring about a new future. How's that?
I think that's a great place to end. And I'm thinking you brought up how we, make our offers, and that our offers change. I mean, we are a pretty young company, but our offers have changed quite a bit. But our main concern and care for our people has not changed. It has always stayed the same. And it is because of our concern and care for them that we have shifted our offers to better help those people, right? And they are telling us what they want. And if we listen to them, then it's very easy for us to then make an offer. And so making offers, it has lots to do with listening. And I think it also has a lot to do with courage. I think you say something that, make a, what did you say? Make a bold offer at least once a day. Like make an
Mm.
offer that scares you a little bit at least once a day. Practice making bold offers. So
Mhm.
yeah, if this new
Mhm.
world requires new habits, new skills, and
Mhm.
I think being able to make bold offers is definitely one of them. So
Now, Victoria, before you
Mhm.
close, though, before you move towards closing, you said
Yeah.
something interesting about courage, and I'm
Yeah,
inspired by how you said it. So
sure.
say a little bit more about what do you understand about courage? What inspired you to say about courage, and what do you
Yeah.
understand about courage? What can you say about courage that can help our listeners?
Well, I think courage, first of all, actually has less to do with like one's ability for like speaking up or anything like that, and more to do with that person's concern and care. In my own experience, there are moments in which I get very, scared to do new things and to go live and public speaking, for example. But it has been my concern and care for a specific group of people that have actually helped me develop courage
Mm.
to step up and do what it is that I was asked to do.
Mm.
So yeah.
So your concern and your care, it helps you overcome your fear of looking bad and
Yeah.
feeling bad and getting rejected.
Yeah.
And out of your care and concern, it moves you to take a risk,
Yeah.
because it's really about taking a risk. When you're making
Yeah.
an offer, when you go to a company, when you go to a client, a customer, and you make an offer, there's always a great possibility that is declined, and you're
Yeah.
going to need some courage, as you said, out of your care and concern for the challenges they are confronting.
Yeah.
If you are someone as a performer that has care and concern, and in that mood you go make an offer, there's a good chance that your offer is listened to, or you get into conversation in which you can negotiate and talk about how you might change something for them. This makes you take a risk that you
Yeah.
wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
In the mood of an employee, you don't want to take risks. You just want to make sure you apply in the right spot and your application is accepted right away and you get in.
Yeah.
So
And I imagine, and I had a friend that was job searching for a good 2 months. So imagine 2 months filled of no, 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 and no. Like after you continue to get a no repeatedly, it kind of hurts. You start to doubt yourself, to think like, do I not have anything to offer? Like what's going on here,
mhm,
So I think in moments like these, having like that grounding,
mhm,
or what we call emotional fortitude,
mhm,
is really important. Cultivating that skill.
mhm.
Yeah.
We can talk about it in another episode.
Yeah. In
It's a
another
good
episode, I
topic
think.
to bring up for the
Yeah,
next
I
time.
think for now we should begin to wrap up. I think. Thank you, Sakib. Everything you said was.
Thank you,
It
Victoria.
was
Thank you
even
for the
for me. It
questions.
was helpful. So
Yes, and for me
I'm
too. For me too. Thank you for your
I'm glad.
lovely questions and interaction.
I enjoyed dancing with you.
Mm.
Okay, so thank you for joining us for a second episode of altWork. And to everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did and found what we had to say helpful. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will be at the same time and at the same place here in LinkedIn Live. And also, if you like what we have to say here and you want to ask some questions to Sakib or me and be more in conversation with us, then join our private community. We'll link it in the comment section below, and it's called, just like altWork Podcast, is called altWork Community. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. We will see you hopefully in the altWork community. We're having some fantastic conversations there. We have invited people and CEOs, from CEOs to individual contributors from all walks of life. And if you have, if you're up against a serious challenge in your business, in your career, in your work, so if you join us, I promise that I'll personally answer your questions there. And I also have other colleagues, more senior colleagues over there that are ready and willing to tangle with you. So we will hopefully see you in the altWork community. Until the next time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.